All right, so this first one has a negative exponent on the outside. You have two choices. You can either distribute that negative onto each of the terms inside, or you can flip it and then distribute it. So it looked like most of you try to flip it first. When you flip it, it gets rid of the negative on the outside exponent, but it changes nothing other than the location on the inside. So then this would become 5y to the negative fourth over 2x to the third, y to the second, raised to the third. So all that does is get rid of the negative on the exponent. Then each term inside that fraction has to get that exponent. So the 5 gets raised to the third. The y to the negative fourth gets raised to a third. And when we raise the power to a power, we multiply those powers. So it's negative 12. The 2 gets raised to the third. The x to the third gets raised to the third. So we multiply the 3 and the 3, and we get 9. And then the y to the second gets raised to the third. So we multiply the 2 times 3, and we get 6. So from here, I can simplify the coefficients. 5 to the third would be 125. 2 to the third would be 8. Anything that has a negative exponent is going to move. So the y to the negative 12 has to go to the bottom. And then the x to the 9th and the y to the 6th stay because they're positive exponents. And then I have two y's being raised to a power. When you multiply that have the same base, you add the exponents. So this should have been 125 over 8 x to the 9th, y to the 18th. If you are still struggling with negative exponents, you got to go back to that section, which was early on in chapter P, right? It's P2, I think it's P2b. You've got to make sure you spend extra time there. They're not going to go away. Yeah. So the sign doesn't change with the exponent. The exponent being negative just means you move it. You don't change the base. That one was bad, guys. Bad. All right, the second one, not as bad, but still a lot of mistakes being made. This has a square root in the denominator, so we're in the radicals section. You have to get rid of it by rationalizing. So a lot of you started it off right. Like I would have to multiply by the opposite here, which is root 15 plus 3. In my numerator, that gets distributed. This would be 2 square root 15 plus 6. In my denominator, you have two choices. Multiply that out, FOIL it out, and see what you get, or use your shortcut. Those are opposites. So the shortcut is square the first one minus square the second one. The square of the square root of 15 is just 15. The square of 3 is 9, and this is 6. Now, a good chunk of you got there, okay, and then did this. Wrong. You cannot cancel part of a sum or difference. I can't just cancel part of that top, okay? You can, however, because the same thing goes into all three terms, I can reduce it by 2. So if the same term goes into all, or same number goes into all the terms, then you can reduce it, and you need to because that's the simplest form. So this becomes 1, 3, and 3. So the correct and most simplified answer is square root 15 plus 3 over 3. So that's radicals. Again, go back to, if that's where you're struggling, go back to that, okay? I generated a bunch of practice stuff. It's on the top of the module, and it's separated out by topic. So if it's rationalizing the denominator, go to that. If it's negative exponents, go to that. There's a video from YouTube, not by me, because maybe you're sick of me, okay? Not by me. And then there's a practice worksheet. You've got to be able to find the gaps in which, because it's not everybody. Like, some people are great at negative exponents and bad at radicals. Some people are great at radicals and bad at negative. Like, so it's all over the place, okay? Some people are doing great across the board, and some people are struggling across the board. So you got to, like, you have to be really self-aware. You have to figure out where it is you're struggling and then seek help for that stuff. All right, continue. All right, pause and look at slide 2. Much better. Okay, still some stuff spots where like it's scary, but much better. So 3, the first thing you can do is take out a 4x. When I take out the 4x, and don't forget that that 4x has to stay on it. So a couple of you made that mistake. You lost that 4x. Be careful. When you take it, the 4x, you get x to the third minus 125. And that's perfect cubes. Both x to the third and 125 are perfect cubes. There's a minus between them. So I would get 4x on the front. I cube root the x to the third, I get x. I cube root the 125, I get 5. I put those together in the first parentheses, square the first one, multiply the 2 together, square the second one, and then SOAP. Same, opposite, always positive. So that one was pretty good. There's still some of you like didn't keep going after the cube, and then some of you didn't know where to start at the beginning, so just be careful. For 4, and this was a little bit trickier because we're back to, this is to the fourth and this is to the second. So you can actually treat this as though there's nothing on the front. You don't have to multiply the first and last here. You treat them as though there's nothing on the front, except that the first term.
Could you try again?
No. The first term has to be x squared. So instead of that first term being x, it's now x squared because the factors of x to the fourth would be x squared and x squared. And then you're looking for the factors of positive 6, that's positive 36, that sum to negative 13, which are negative 9 and negative 4. So I'd get x squared minus 9 and x squared minus 4. And a lot of you got there, but you got to keep going. That's 2 difference of 2 squares. So it'd be x plus 3 and x minus 3, and x plus 2 and x minus 2. And the factor completely question is going to be on the open-ended portion of your test. So it's not like you're going to be able to look at your multiple choice answers and say, oh, I didn't go far enough. You've got to make sure you can't factor again. If you did it first and last, because a lot of you did that, you would have gotten 36x to the fourth as your first times last. Factors of that sum to the middle would be negative 4x to the second and negative 9x to the second. So that middle term has to have the same variable. That's the middle. Some of you just put the x. So then it would have been x to the fourth minus 4x to the second minus 9x to the second plus 36. And then you can factor by grouping. Take out an x squared and you'd get x squared minus 4. Take out a negative 9 and you get x squared minus 4. And then the x squared minus 4 comes out and the x squared minus 9 gets grouped together. And then that gets factored into these 2 difference of 2 squares. Questions on that one? All right, this one was a little bit better, right? Because we're getting hopefully to the more recent stuff. So you've got to factor each part. Be careful, because if you factor wrong, obviously, then it doesn't cancel right. So you just got to be really, really careful when you're going through each spot. The top left one is the difference of 2 squares. So it'd be x plus 4 and x minus 4. The bottom left one is x minus 4 and x minus 4. No, sorry, x plus 4 and x plus 4, because the factors of 16, that sum to 8. The top right, you take out an x. That's the factoring by taking out a greatest common factor. That one's gone. And the bottom, you also take out the greatest common factor, and it's 3 minus 4. Then I start to cancel. So I've got a plus 4 and a plus 4 in the top and the bottom that can be canceled. A minus 4 and a minus 4 that are diagonally, that can be canceled. A plus 4 and a plus 4 that are diagonal the other way, that can be canceled. And all that's left is the x over the 3. So again, much better, okay? Just be careful. There were some silly mistakes made along the way, so just be careful. All right, for 6, I'm just going to work through them, okay? But for 6, it is a keep. Turn it down, it's so loud. I'm worried about your hearing right now. Change and then flip the second one. From the top left, I could take out an x squared and I get x minus 1. From the bottom left, there are 3 x minus 1s there. So I don't need to FOIL them out. I just know that there are 3 of them. The top right, I get x plus 1 and x minus 1. That's gone. Bottom right, I get x times x plus 1. And then I cancel. So x plus 1 cancels from here and here. One of the x minus 1s cancels here. Then there'd be 2 left. A second x minus 1 cancels from the one in the top. So there's 1 x minus 1 left in the bottom. And top left and bottom right, change the color. One of the x's cancel. So my numerator has an x in it. The denominator has one of the x minus 1s left.
Wait, how do you get the denominator since there's a cube? Right?
It just means there's 3 of them. So if you want to write them out,
And then just take away.
and then take away one at a time.
And then how do you take the? Oh, never mind.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Right, then 7 was your difference, okay? So we factor first. The bottom denominator on the right is x plus 2, x minus 2, which means my least common denominator is x minus 2 and x plus 2. The first one's missing the x minus 2. The second one is not missing anything. So we have to FOIL out x minus 2 times x minus 2 and then subtract 3. It's all going to go over the denominator. I can FOIL out the x minus 2, or I can use my special product, which is square the first, double the product, and then square the second. Subtract the 3. Again, it's going to go over that denominator. And I'd get x squared minus 4x plus 1 all over x plus 2x minus 2.
Wait, so even when it's multiplication.